Hi, I'm Guna Mathivanan. Welcome to Simply Current Affairs. Before going into today's editorial discussion, let us finish the feedback for the question which I gave in the last class. Friends, if you are watching this video series for the first time, then please watch my introductory video given in the playlist to know how to participate in this answer writing initiative. It is open to all. The question which I gave in the last class is the new Indian labor codes are hailed as the most significant structural reform since GST. Do you agree? Critically discuss their limitations. So in the introduction part, you highlight what is this labor code all about. Okay, highlight the 4 labor codes, right? And mention why it is hailed as a significant structural reform. Okay, not in detail. All this is going to be part of your introduction. Okay, labor codes has replaced 29. The recently implemented labor codes has replaced 29 labor codes and 1,400 plus rules into 4 labor codes and 351 rules and regulations. Right, which has improved the ease of doing business, which has simplified the registration process, which has simplified the reviewing process, filing process, etc., and which is seen as a significant economic reform since GST. Okay, now do you agree? Do you agree means don't say yes, I agree. You are going to highlight the significance in detail. Yes, this is a significant reform since GST because of the below reasons. Highlight one by one. We discussed in the last class, right? List out all the positives. It's 15-mark question, so you have to trim and you have to write accordingly. 7-8 positives you can mention. Then, despite of the structural changes and improvement in the ease of starting a business, improved labor reforms, there are some structural challenges. What are the issues? Highlight the issues one by one. So after summarizing the issues, 15-mark question, give some way forward, give some suggestion to solve these disputes, solve the issues, and finally you conclude. Okay. So we have taken the answer paper of Mr. Shivakumar. We have been writing consistently, right? That's significant improvement in your writing. So, okay. So based on the second National Labour Commission recommendation, 29 labour laws were merged into 4 labour codes aiming at consolidating, modernizing labour reforms. So what are the 4 labour codes? Great. And we have given the significance. So payment of wages. The code ensures timely payment of wages. Fixed term employment, written appointment letters. Social security. Okay. Even for the unorganized workers, the government is proposing social security. Gender neutrality with respect to payment. Ease of compliance because the licensing, rules, regulation, digital auditing, everything is simplified. And even the grievances redressal mechanism has been centralized. So all these is resulting in ease of compliance. Inclusion of gig workers, they contribute to almost 1 to 2% of the turnover. So they are also included in the part of the worker social security norms. So these are important highlights. Okay, you could have also mentioned about the floor wages. Okay, occupational safety. Fine, just you could have made it 7-8 points. Then, despite these structural changes, there arises protest from trade unions due to following limitations. See, when I am struggling to read the word, even the actual evaluator also will face the same struggle. So keep this in mind. What are the limitations? So not ensuring job security because this promotes fixed term employment that may lead to hire and fire. So contractual labor should become permanent employees, but here it comes up with something called as fixed term employment, and which in a way promotes hire and fire, which is something that has to be addressed. And trade unions with 51% strength will be getting all the sole right to be a representative. Let's say there's a union with 20%, 30% membership. They will be losing their voice to be heard. So that is a problem. Arbitrary state power. See here, arbitrary state power, you are saying it will affect MSME, not just MSME, it will affect everyone. If the state government wants, they can compromise any of the labor code for a specific industry. So it is not just MSME, anyone can be affected. And the next point, women workers. The code repeal protection of women worker in mine, duration of work hour resulting in exploitation. I'm not able to understand this. I'm not able to understand this point. So there is a general neutrality with respect to compensation given, even if you're going to work in mines. Okay, this point is not clear. This gives me a different impression. Okay, there is lack of clarity here. Then capped health benefit. Mandatory health checkup is for establishment above 20 workers with power, 40 workers without power. See, not just health benefit. And the codes will entirely applicable only for those institutions with more than 20 workers with power. So what about below 20 workers? Here, more than 90% of the micro enterprises, they employ less than 20 workers. So the code will not be applicable, means that is going to keep them away all those occupational safety net. So this is another limitation, okay. So fine. The new labor codes has, and you could have also mentioned about the other one, the centralization of grievance and redressal. Earlier you were allowed to go to civil court tribunals, now you can go only to high court. That centralization already has pendency of cases. That point also you could have added here. Fine. Then finally, the new labor code has significant structural framework while undermining certain rights of workers. Focus on the center-state cooperation while implementing building trust with trade unions, constituting a neutral body for free implementation can make the labor code one of significant reforms since GST. All these are fine. What I would suggest is this part you could have made into individual points, put a way forward, give individual points, and then you could have gone for a conclusion. The 15 marker question, a way forward could have been even more value adding for this answer. Apart from that, the rest is fine, good attempt. Alright? Fine. So now we will move on to today's editorial discussion. Today's discussion is not just based on one article. The primary article which we have taken is from the print, which was giving an analysis which is about the Federal Reserve's rate cut in USA following the problems between Congress and the American government. So there is a confusion which is going on. In that confusion, the Federal Reserve has reduced the policy rates by 25 basis points. Several news articles were reporting on this regard. So we will take the content from our UPSC point of view and I will explain. Okay, from UPSC point of view, more than the politics, more than the confusion which is going on in America between the American government and the US Congress, that is not very important for us. Okay, specifically about that and all UPSC will not ask. We will focus on this UPSC, Federal Reserve's rate cut perspective. So what will happen generally? First let me explain the content, then at the end I will tell you what is happening in America. So what will happen when the American Federal Reserve, the America's RBI, okay, America's central bank, when they reduce their interest rate, their repo rate, when they reduce their repo rate, what will happen? See, when Americans Federal Reserve reduces the repo rate, the American banks will reduce their lending rate. American banks will reduce their lending rate and American banks will also reduce their deposit rates. Lending rates get reduced, deposit rates also gets reduced. When deposit rates get reduced, okay, forget about lending rate right now. When deposit rate gets reduced, then the American investors, they will not be investing in American banks because that is going to result in lesser returns. Okay, previously higher interest. So the American investors, they were investing in American banks. But now the interest has been reduced. So the American investors will not choose to invest in American banks. Rather, they might choose to invest in emerging economies. Now think about India, fastest growing economy. So here, the bank rates are also relatively higher. Our repo rates are higher when compared to American repo rates. Indian repo rate is higher. So the bank lending rate as well as deposit rate is higher. So think from an American perspective. So if you assume I am the American, I am John. Okay, I am looking at American bank's interest. I am looking at SBI's interest. When SBI's interest is high, what I will do? Instead of me depositing my money in American bank, I will be investing in Indian bank. So this is a very simplified example. For the sake of understanding, I am giving you such simplified example. So when American central bank reduces repo rate, the American banks interest will also come down. So because of that, the investors will not invest in American banks. The investors will try to invest in Indian markets. So this is going to result in an increased capital inflow. There is going to be an increased capital inflow into Indian market. Increased capital inflow means what will happen? What is the benefit? So we will be getting, India will be receiving a lot of dollars. Now all these dollars, will be converted into rupee. The dollars will become a part of forex reserve. So our forex reserve will improve. Our forex reserve once it improves, this is going to protect our balance of payments. When our forex reserve, when there is increased investments, our rupee value will also appreciate. Our rupee value also will appreciate. So, increased capital inflow, investments will increase in India, more jobs will be created. India will be in an advantageous position because of this. And more importantly, our forex reserve will strengthen. Our balance of payment position will be strengthened. Rupee appreciation can also happen. This is what happens when the Federal Reserve reduces the interest rate. If the Federal Reserve increases the interest rate, assume in America there is high inflation, assume in America there is high inflation. To control inflation, the American banks will increase the interest rates. American Reserve, Federal Reserve will increase the interest rates. So American banks will increase the interest rates. When American bank increases the interest rates, then what John will do? John will think, okay, American bank only interest is very high, we will deposit in America only. Okay, so a lot of Americans might think, why to go and invest in India when American banks only is giving higher interest, we will invest in America only. So a lot of investors, they will choose to invest in America. So what is the consequence? The capital which was coming to India will stop. The capital flow will reduce. Number one. Number two, previously a lot of people would have invested in India, right? Previously when Federal Reserve decreased the rate, a lot of Americans would have invested in Indian markets. Okay, so now when American Federal Reserve is increasing the interest rates, one thing is the American investors will continue to choose America, and the previous American investors who invested in India, they will withdraw the money. They will withdraw the money from India and they will be depositing in American banks. So two things will happen to India. The capital inflow will reduce. The capital outflow from India will increase. Both is going to affect our forex. Both will affect our forex. Our forex reserve will be affected. Because of that, our balance of payments will also be getting affected. So because of this capital outflow, the rupee value will depreciate. When rupee value depreciates, our imports becomes costlier. We are import dependent country. When our imports becomes costlier, that is going to have a disastrous consequence. Right? So what should we do? Unfortunately, dollar being a dominant currency, dollar being a world currency, when American Central Bank, when they vary their repo rates, unfortunately, we are also getting affected because we are dollar dependent. Right, all our trade and investments, majority happens in terms of dollars because people trust dollars. India cannot trade in some Pakistan currency or Zimbabwe currency because people don't have trust. So when we do trade, people trust dollars. Unfortunately, dollar has become a global currency. So because of this, when American Federal Reserve varies the interest rates, that is having an impact all over the world, particularly on emerging countries like India. So how India should protect itself from such external shocks? Sometimes it's advantageous. When they are reducing the repo rate, it becomes advantageous for us. When there is a rate cut, advantage. When there is a rate hike, then that is not going to be advantage for India. But both are context specific, but in general I am saying. So how India should protect itself from such external shocks? See, number one, India has to improve the domestic growth. We have to improve the domestic demand, domestic consumption, domestic growth. Number two, we have to improve our exports, make our exports competitive. When you improve our domestic growth, make the domestic productivity more efficient, right? And that is going to improve the competitiveness. We'll get quality products to export. So improve the exports, widen the trading partners. See, when you improve the exports, when you widen the trading partners, you will get lot of forex reserves. So you will stock lot of dollars. Okay, see what happens when there is a rate hike, Our forex is getting affected. Our forex is what is getting affected. So we have to maintain more forex. So now we have around $700 billion of forex. So then we have $1,000 billion, $1,200 billion of forex. Even when there is capital outflow, still we will be protected. So we have to improve our forex reserve, for which we have to improve our trade. We have to widen the trading partners. We have to bring in more investments. To bring more investments into India, we have to come up with ease of doing business. That is why we introduced GST. That is why we have also implemented this 4 labor codes. All these are trying to improve the ease of doing business. Right? So ease of doing business, more fiscal incentives, stable fiscal regime. So all these will help in bringing the investments. Okay, another side, we have to boost our trade. Right. Another side, we have to maintain sufficient amount of forex reserves. Another side, we should also take efforts to internationalize rupee. What is this internationalization of rupee? Promoting trade settlements through rupee. What is this trade settlement through rupee? See, now I buy oil from Saudi Arabia. I have to pay in dollars. I am buying weapons from other countries. Okay, France, I am paying in dollars. I am buying coal from Australia, I am paying in dollars. I am buying palm oil from Malaysia, I am paying in dollars. Because everyone wants dollars. But think about the situation, just think for a minute how it would be if we are settling our trade in rupees. We are buying oil from Malaysia, rupee. We are buying crude oil from Saudi Arabia, rupee. We are buying coal from Australia, rupee. When we are settling our trade through rupees, the need for dollar will not arise. When the need for dollar doesn't arise, why we should worry? See, when RBI, Indian RBI, when they vary the interest rates, do you think America will worry? Because America is not dependent on rupees. We are dependent on dollars. So when the Federal Reserve, when they vary the interest rate, we are getting worried. So we have to take efforts to internationalize rupee. Okay, which efforts we are taking? Off it we are taking. Okay, so that is something which we have to focus. At the same time, we have to address on the above suggested things, right? Like strengthening our trade, strengthening our investments, improving our forex reserve, improving our export competitiveness, coming up with reforms, institutional reforms within the India so that we can bring in more investments. So all these has to be done. Okay. So now coming to what happened, why I am discussing about this. In America, there is an issue going on between the American government as well as the Congress. The American Congress and the American government. So only when the American Congress, when they give the permission, the budget resources will be released. Accordingly, expenses can be done. Now because of the issue between these two institutions, the Congress did not allow the funds to be released. So because of which there is a halt in the overall governance only. Right? In this backdrop, various unofficial reports were saying that American economy is slowing down. Unemployment is increasing. Inflation, though it is in a moderate level, but there is a slowdown. But what is the problem, sir? Federal Reserve will usually get official data. Okay, you have a lot of official agencies. Every month they will get official data. Based on the official figures only, the American Federal Reserve will be varying their repo rates. But now because of the issue going on between the Congress and the government, the Congress did not allow the fund to be released. So a lot of specialized agencies, government agencies which were involved in collecting the data, they did not get the money, resource to perform those actions. So because of this, the Federal Reserve did not receive any official data. So with the older data like July, August data, with older data and also from the unofficial information coming from the market, the Federal Reserve took a decision to reduce the repo rate by 25 basis points. Okay, they reduced the repo rate by 25 basis points. 100 basis points means 1%. 25 basis points means 0.25%. So there is a rate cut. So when Federal Reserve reduces the rate, that is going to be an advantage for India. But the author was highlighting that this is an advantage which we have to make use of it. Okay, because the Federal Reserve, they have reduced the interest rate. So there is going to be capital inflow into India, more investments into India. Already our rupee is weakening like anything. A couple of videos before we discussed about the fall in value of rupee, right? Today the rupee has touched 90 rupees against dollar. Steep fall in the value of the rupee. So one side, when there's a steep fall in the value of the rupee, this rate cut is a blessing that is going to improve the value of Indian rupee. But however, though there are advantages, the author was highlighting, see, we do not know. Now the problem between the Congress and the Federal Reserve, the problem got addressed, the funds has been released. So the organizations will be collecting the data and they will be presenting it to the Federal Reserve. Two things can happen. Now the latest data will be collected. The latest data might say that America is slowing down, so the rate has to be reduced. Or the latest data can reflect American government is stable, robust, inflation is not moderate, inflation is inching up. So seeing this, the Federal Reserve can stop the rate cut or they can even increase the interest rates. Anything can happen. So the today's rate cut by the US Federal Reserve, that is a temporary rate cut. We should not completely, driven away with that rate cut benefits. But however, today there is a benefit, we will use it immediately. Let us not feel complacent, let us not believe that tomorrow also the benefit will continue. That is what is the sum and substance of the article. Okay, anyhow, from our exam point of view, what we have to know is, what is the impact which the Indian economy will face when there is a federal rate cut? When there is a federal rate cut, what impact we will have? And if there is going to be a rate hike, what impact we will have? Now these impacts is not good for India, so how to protect ourselves from these external shocks? This is what is more important from our exam point of view. Now based on our discussion, I will give you a question. On the same lines only I am giving you the question. Analyze the impact of US federal rate changes on emerging markets like India. Discuss the strategies India can adopt to mitigate its susceptibility to these hikes and enhance its macroeconomic resilience. 15-marker question. Submit your answer on time, and in the YouTube video, please leave the comment that you have submitted. Right friends, I will see you tomorrow with another interesting editorial topic. Till then, bye. Take care from Guna Mathivanan.